Continuing our reading in The World and Thorinn by Damon Knight, Chapter 14, Section 3. Thorinn's body went cold. "Wait a minute," he said. He opened his wallet, fumbled until he found the scrap of cloth he had carried with him from Hovenskar. "Let me see Kerwin again." In the crystal, there stood the tall man, the woman, and the child as before. "Let me see him closer." The image bloomed, expanded. Now the child filled the crystal. He was dressed in a garment woven with bright figures of birds and people. Thorinn held up the scrap of cloth, trembling. The figures were the same. After a moment, the monitor said calmly, "You are the king of the Skrylings." The majestic figure bowed its head. "What will you have me do?" "Let me go back to the midworld," said Thorinn, his heart bursting with joy. "That cannot be done," said the monitor sternly. "The king of the world must be here where the world is ruled." "But how can I be king of the Skrylings if I am here?" "You are the king of the Skrylings until they choose another king." Thorinn's heart was a stone. "And then," he said, "because I am not the king of the Skrylings anymore, I can't be king of the world either, and you will do what you like with me." "That is true." "Box," said Thorinn bitterly, "what is the use of this?" "I don't know, Thorinn." He said to the monitor, "Let me go back and be king of the Skrylings, and then I will come here again and be king of the world." "That cannot be done. There are things that must be decided soon." "What things?" Abruptly, the room was swallowed by darkness. Only the monitor remained, glowing like witchfire, suspended in the midst of a vast emptiness. Now a glowing ball appeared before him, at the height of his chest. Thorinn blinked. The ball was so bright that it hurt his eyes. Next, around the ball, glowing lines appeared, thin as hairs, like elongated circles with the ball near their center. On each of these lines he saw there was a tiny bead of light, and as he watched, those nearest the central ball crept slowly along their lines, all in the same direction, from the left hand to the right. Now a new line of brightness appeared. This one was not in the same level plane as the others. It swooped in from above, curved downward as it neared the ball, then continued into the distance. On this line, too, there was a tiny bead of light. "This is our world," said the monitor, and touched the bead with his long forefinger. "These are other worlds." His finger moved to the beads on the stretched circles around the central ball, one after another. "This one is like ours. Men could live on it." He turned to Thorinn. "Once our world was part of a family of worlds like this one, turning about a central fire. Then the fire grew too strong. Men made our world move to seek another fire. Now we must choose whether to stay on it. If I make the world move slower, it will turn about this fire as the other worlds do." The line from above curved more sharply, turned back on itself now. It was a closed curve like the others. "If I do nothing, the world will go on until we come to another fire." The original line reappeared. "I don't understand," Thorinn said. "If I were not the king, what would you do?" "I would go on. Our world does not need to turn about a fire for heat, as other worlds do. If men went to live on another world, I could not keep them from harm." "Then why come here at all?" "I was told to do so by the men who made me." "Well, suppose I say to go on then. What else is there?" The central ball, the lines and beads all disappeared in a click of an instant. Now a vast gray globe filled the room, like a cloud around the monitor. In it, Thorinn saw ghostly threads, some radiating from the center, some in concentric layers. "In our world, There are 300,000 of caverns where men live, and in each one they are living in a different way. You must decide which way is best." "But how am I to do that?" "I don't know." Thornton saw then that his kingship was only a grim joke, and that the king of the world was nothing but another kind of prisoner. He said dully, "Leave me alone." The monitor vanished. The room was bare and empty in the even light, just as it had been before. "Box," said Thornton, "can they hear what we say?" "Yes." "In the other rooms too?" "Yes, Thornton, but not in the washing box." Thornton began to take off his clothes. When they were all floating in the air, he fetched the box from the net on the wall, leaped to the washing box, closed the door behind him. "Box, I must get away. Tell me how to do it." "Thornton, the monitor says I am broken. I say I am not. But if I am broken by the guise you put on me, then your only hope of getting away must be to break the monitor too." "How do you mean? By telling him he must not do anything to harm me and so on?" "Yes, but it will not be easy, for there is a guise on the monitor already, and he is much greater than I am." "What sort of guise?" "The monitor has been told that he must do everything he can for the good of men." "Much good that does me." "Thornton, the monitor is not sure what is good for men. If you can make him believe that it is good for men to let you go back to the midworld, he will let you go." Thornton opened the door of the washing box and put the box outside to drift in the air. He closed the door again, put his feet on the floor, and let the water gush over his body. When he was cleaned and dried, he went out into the room and put his clothes on. The box was drifting near one wall. Thornton retrieved it and put it in the net. He took a deep breath. "Monitor," he said, and the bearded old man was there in the middle of the room. "Monitor," Thornton said carefully, "while I am king of the world, I will choose to let the world turn around the fire you showed me, and I will choose to send men to live on the other world, the one that is like ours. That will be bad for men, because you won't be able to keep them from harm. Is that true?" "That is true." "But you must let me do it because the guise that is on you." "That is also true." "But if you let me do it, you'll be allowing men to come to harm, and you are forbidden to do that by another guise. Is that true?" "Yes, it is true." "And if I give up being king of the world, then you mustn't let me go back to the midworld, because then I might come into the underworld again and do harm." "That is true." "But if I don't go back to the midworld, I will stay here and be king of the world and do harm." The figure of the old man flickered like a candle in the wind. "That is true." "Which harm is greater? Remember, if I stay here as king of the world, I will think of other things to do that may harm men." "It is a greater harm if you stay here as king of the world." "Then I'll make a bargain with you. Give me 3 things and I will leave you to rule." "What are the 3 things?" "First, you must take me back to the midworld, to the land of the Skrylings, with all my possessions. Do you agree?" "I will answer when I have heard the other 2 things." "Very well. Second, you must awaken the winged children again and let them live together, even if they make a fire now and again." "And the third?" "The third is this, and it must be a guise upon you. The best way for men to live is that which gives them the most freedom to choose how they will live." "I agree to the second and third things," said the monitor. "I agree to the first thing in part. I will send you back to the midworld with all the possessions you brought from it, but nothing from the underworld." "Thornton, you must agree," said the box at once. He turned to look at it. But that would mean leaving you behind." You must, for if the men of the midworld saw me, they would know that what you tell them about the underworld is true, and they would want to come here themselves. Thornton bit his lip. Monitor, he said, couldn't you put the box into an engine that looks like a man, like the ones in the Wingman's People's Cavern? Before the old man could reply, the box said, That cannot be done, Thornton. Remember that the children were deceived, but you were not. And besides, it may be true that I am broken. It paused a moment and said in a different tone, Monitor, will you also agree to put me back in the cavern where Thornton found me and leave me there in case he comes again? I agree, said the monitor, but I will stop up all the passages by which he came before. That is understood, the box said. Now, Thornton, it is time to say farewell. The spidery engine came floating up from the room below. What, already? Thornton looked around, but there was nothing to take with him. Everything he had brought from the midworld was already on his back or in his wallet. The monitor said, You and I will not meet again. Farewell, Kerwin Darson. The tall figure vanished. Box, I'll remember you, said Thornton. The spider engine drifted up, wrapped its coils around him. As they descended through the hole in the floor, the room, the box in its net, floated upward and were gone. That's the end of section 4.